Captain America 4, the latest in the production failures of the Marvel Cinematic Universe at the Walt Disney Company, is back in for a round of big reshoots. No surprise, and when it's all said and done, is going to wind up costing Disney around $400 million just to finish making it, and before they spend a dime marketing it. Renegade Online. Well, folks, welcome back. Another great day here at Valiant Renegade. It's good to see everybody out there once again. And if you are like one of the many watching this video, not yet subscribed to this channel, please take a moment and turn that little red subscribe button to gray. Hit that like button, hit that notification bell, share this sucker out on the social medias, and of course, please do leave a comment before you head out the door today. Make sure to join us every Sunday and Wednesday afternoon right here on Valiant Renegade at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show. Well, we've got one for you today, folks. A little bit of an I told you so. We talked about this some time ago. When it comes to Marvel and Marvel Studios, the MCU, phases 4 and 5 have been a relative, well, no, take that back, complete unmitigated disaster. The financial failings of this phase, or these two phases of Marvel, cannot be overstated. Even though Deadpool and Wolverine, coming out in just a few weeks in July, is slated to open with a north of $200 million opening weekend just in the US and Canada alone, that is not necessarily going to save the entire MCU. And one of the things that we speculated on from an early stage in this game was whether or not Deadpool and Wolverine, no matter how big of a success that it would be, would translate into a huge box office win for Captain America 4. Because, of course, you know, Sam Wilson, who used to be Falcon, is now Captain America, as introduced in Falcon and the Winter Soldier for all two people that actually watched and enjoyed it. But here, on the screen right now, here we go, folks, and joining me today is Mexican Iron Man and Jonas J. Campbell. Guys, we got to talk about this. Captain America Brave New World, according to the World of Real, which is a Hollywood insider trade publication that tracks actual ongoing productions. This is like a insider's insider type publication. Captain America Brave New World, they are now saying, is going to have a final budget of $350 to $375 million. Guys, I think we talked about this some months ago, and I said by the time this poop show is done, we might be looking at about $400 million dropped on this. Here we are.
I'm in shock. When you brought this up a while back and you threw that number out, I admittedly will look. I thought you were insane. I thought there's no way that this company's going to spend this much. I would think, or I would hope, being the financial guy that I am, that somebody inside the corporate structure at Disney would have sat back and said, "Hey, you yo-yos, we can't keep spending money like this because you just can't do this forever. You can't spend, there's an old saying in business, you don't throw good money after bad, and all the money that's been thrown at Marvel has been bad. I mean, so what are they thinking with a 3 to 4x with the advertising? We don't even have advertising yet. This is just the approved budget.
Yeah.
I mean, then they got to go into post-production. That's always another 5 to 25% of the budget, you know, and average meaning of 10 to 15%. So you tell me this thing's going to end up at north of 400 mil, probably.
Oh,
look, they think it's going to do $1.5 billion.
The budget for this in terms of marketing, Mike, there's no question. If Disney is going to drop in totality at least $400 million on this. Now, there's no specific word, and we'll go through this article here. I don't know if that includes a net figure where they're going to get some film tax credits, because This movie is being shot in the state of Georgia, which does have some relatively lucrative film tax credits. Matter of fact, there was a story in the last couple of days where the state of Georgia was like seriously lobbying to get the Sundance Film Festival to move to Georgia because of all the Hollywood productions being shot there now, which a lot of Hollywood kind of laughed off, so what they think of them. But point being is that Disney on this, in terms of marketing, this is we're talking about a minimum figure of 150 in marketing. We're talking about at least $500 to $550 million of all-in costs on this film. This film is going to need to make probably close to 1.1 to 1.2 billion globally at the box office to break even.
This is absolutely ludicrous to me. When we're talking about money on the level of how much they spent on making Captain Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, ridiculous amount of
Captain
money.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge, yes,
right, and that was in the 300 million pounds range. So this is more than that, and this really has to hit hard. And the question that I have is, obviously Deadpool is a rated R film and is going to be successful for different reasons than this film would be successful.
Here's the thing. Deadpool as a rated R film, Jonas, may absolutely smoke this PG-13 entry. Smoke it. I mean, we're looking at right now, think about this, Inside Out 2, which has been by far and away the biggest and, in my opinion, the only Disney success in 5 years right now. It's going to be over $1 billion on Sunday at the end of its third weekend, this weekend. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. Deadpool might actually be bigger. They're talking about, Inside Out 2 opened with $155 million over the 3-day weekend. Right now, tracking has Deadpool opening over $200 million on its opening weekend. Deadpool could be potentially $1.50. It could be $1.5 billion when it's done. I don't see Captain Falcon. I think Captain Falcon's going to struggle to get to $1 billion. I don't know if there's enough goodwill to carry it over, but that's the problem. You think about, it's only going to do $900 million. Oh, no, that's still awesome. It's really not. Not when this movie's going to need $1.1 to $1.2 billion, $1.20 to break even.
When was the last time that they made an action-focused film? This would have to be like Captain America Winter Soldier level of action, grittiness, darkness, masculinity. I just don't know that Marvel has that in them anymore. And even with Deadpool, the action is great, but even Ryan Reynolds is on record saying that he considers Deadpool to be a feminine character. And obviously he's making gay jokes all the time, and most of the jokes that he's making are how he's a Golden Girls fan and all that kind of stuff. So it's you got Wolverine, who is obviously like hyper masculine, and Deadpool, who is great action but also comedy. I don't know if they're gonna. I haven't seen Anthony Mackie put that kind of a performance as a lead actor, being that guy who has to be funny, has to be dark, and has to balance all of those things that you need to do to be the lead of a great action film. And I just don't see it. And Harrison Ford is going to be in this, and he's totally not going to be the Red Hulk, or at least that was what it was 2 scripts ago. Well, he's going to be the Red Hulk.
Let's talk about that too, because just real quickly, and Mike's got something he wants to talk about with the Georgia tax incentive. I think that's very important. But here's the issue, is that when we talk about Harrison Ford, you and I have had this conversation, and Mike, I don't know if you were here for that show when it came to that, but here's the thing, is that Harrison Ford, the whole issue, with Harrison Ford, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, sorry, I almost said the wrong word, darn it. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny was supposed to, basically, the idea that the reason why they released it when they did, because they had Harrison Ford already scheduled to jump into the MCU, right? the new Indiana Jones movie was supposed to reinvigorate the audience out there for Harrison Ford. Oh my God, look, it's Han Solo's back. Oh my God, look, it's Indiana Jones is back. And now he's going to be in Marvel. Yay! And then Dial of Destiny came out and pooped the bed. That's not helping Thunderbolts. That's not helping this movie right now. And for all the money they're spending on it, right? If they could spend $400 million clocking this movie in, I think, honestly, if that's what World of Real is estimating with the reshoots going on right now with this movie, I think they're probably going to be light. I think it's going to be 4 to 425 when it's over, because I know how Disney is and they're stupid. But then they're going to get some film tax credits back. We are talking about gross expenses here. So, Mike, you're bringing this in. Tell us about the Georgia film tax credits.
Just this past weekend, I met someone at a training who is an associate director and producer, and we got to talking about this program a little bit. But here's the highlights of the program. 20% base transferable tax credit, 10% Georgia Entertainment Promotion can uplift by, if you have that Georgia Peach logo, what does that look like? It looks like this thing up here. You've probably seen it on at the end of a lot of film credits. Both resident and non-resident worker payrolls and FICA, SUI, food, that's the payroll tax, qualify for time worked in Georgia. So you could be a California resident, but for the time that you're working in Georgia, your payroll would count. Production expenditures must be made in Georgia from a Georgia vendor. Guess what? Tons of production companies have Georgia entities set up already in the state, ready for money to flow through. No limits or caps on the Georgia spend, and no sunset clause. Why is that important? Because on the sunset clause, that means that they don't have to finish the actual production on a certain date. In terms of being,
that's perfect for Marvel.
So it's perfect for Marvel. No salary cap on individuals that are paid by 1099. So if you don't want to put them on payroll like ADP with taxes taken out, no problem. There's no salary cap on individuals that are paid out by 1099. But the 1099s do require a Georgia income tax withholding for that 1099 contractor. Post-production of Georgia film, movies, and television qualifies. Now, that's interesting because a lot of tax credit programs around the globe in different countries and jurisdictions do not always allow for post-production to be on the benefit side of the tax credit. Here it does, so long as the post is done in Georgia.
And you're right, in Georgia. And I was going to say real quick, you're absolutely right, Mike. The UK operates in a very similar fashion because like the UK financial returns to get the film tax credits, which is where Snow White was filmed. And we're going to talk about that later in another video because we have some updates on that as well. But the UK compels you to file every expense for the entire production, whether it was done in the UK or not, because they want to see what percentage that you did in the UK in order to qualify for the film tax credits. So Georgia, I think, from what I'm reading here, is very similar to what we always talk about in the UK, what our friend Caroline Reed at Forbes magazine always talks about in the UK, is that you've got to report everything. And, you know, things like executive producers and usually the above the line, the director, the principal actors and all this usually they're not going to get tax credits for that expense. I don't think anybody does that. But yeah, the labor, whether it's pre-production, principal photography, or post-production, if it's done in the state of Georgia, even down to you hired $1 million worth of catering, you're usually eligible.
Small caveat, Georgia actually does not allow pre-production because it says development costs, promotion, marketing, story rights, and most fees don't apply. So that's the pre-production stuff. So they don't actually allow the pre-production.
Well, you're okay. Story development in terms of writing, but if they hire a plethora of contractors in Georgia to build a set on a soundstage in Georgia,
that's production.
That's also pre-production as well.
Yeah,
I mean, before pre-production generally is anything before principal photography. But you're right. Writing, story development, paying writers up front, paying a writer's room, that's not creditable.
Yeah. Right. So if they want to go reshoot this thing in Georgia and they want to do it over and over and over again and they're not sure how long it's going to take, guess what? No sunset clause. No problem.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? It's great. And look, this is why not only Disney, but a lot of film production companies, they want to do business in Georgia. Georgia has made a very, very lucrative place to go to do this. And my home state, Louisiana, is not terribly different in that regard. We're looking at a movie here that was shot that did not perform well, apparently, with test audiences. This is not the first story, and it won't be the last that we've heard like this with a Marvel Cinematic Universe production where it pooped the bed with test audiences, and they had to go back to the drawing board and spend another enormous amount of money. We're going to get more information on the Marvels here probably in the next few months. Caroline Reed is hawking that entity in the UK, waiting for the next shoe to drop, because that's going to be probably 330 to 350 million easily when all the returns are filed in the UK for that. And here we go again with another one that might be even more with Captain America 4. We told people this was probably going to be the case. This was probably going to be $400 million when said and done, and now it's looking like it's happening. This is a dumpster fire for Disney.
Make sure you're subscribed to Valiant Renegade and join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show.